Okay, let's talk about measurements. This is measurements of distance, and also we'll have measurements of cell velocity. I'll show you how to do those. Uh, this is going to be useful because you've done so much looking at these lumen, might as well get some good quantitative, well, give you the ability to do quantitative information about what they're doing. So the first thing is just simple line distance. You have to have your image property set up correctly, so you can see this one is. And the line tool, as you draw it, it's going to show you the length up in the bar here of your line in microns. That will be in the actual calibrated microns. But that's not very useful, particularly because when you let go, as soon as you move the mouse, that'll disappear. So if you want to keep those measurements, if you draw a line, you get that line nice, and you hit M, the M key, M for Michael, or M for measure, you will get this, and you can see length 29.7. We can do another one. Yeah, 10. But that's not excellent because it won't tell you where those measurements were. The better way to do it is, instead of hitting M, which is useful if you just want to do like one measurement. If you want to do more, if you hit T, that's T for tango, you get the ROI manager up. And if I click show all, so I'm just continuously hitting T, which you can see is the add shortcut, you can actually get loads of measurements in there, and then if you hit, if you select them all, hold down the shift key and select them all, you can measure them all at once. And then you can just take that table, you can either save it in a open Excel, or you can just like copy it, and you could work out the average of those lengths, which is good. And I recommend just worrying about this more at time point 1, because that's going to be the most accurate measurement of their dimensions to begin with. I think that there might even be, if you've got like a long shape, like Livy's one, if you can even go, like if you want to measure all the way down the middle of a lumen, so I just right-clicked on the line thing, and you switch to segmented line, and I can measure that, or add that. So now I have that. Yeah, thanks, 214. Or there's even a freehand line option, but I think the segmented is going to be easier to control. There are also shape-based ones, so you could get the area. That's going to be the area of one segment of it, like one Z slice. So again, I'm adding them to this, and if I measure that, now we don't have the area. That's because we need to set it to actually gather the area. So that's under set measurements, which is under analyze set measurements, and you can say, yep, give me the area. You could also do fit ellipse, which will give you the, if you've drawn an area like this, it'll give you like the length and width of it, I think. It's sort of the mathematical, if it was, if you imagine drawing an oval around all this, it'll fit an oval to it. Yeah, perimeter, probably not so useful. But anyway, if we do OK, and if I measure again, area 3,000 square microns. These are all other, that's like the amount of brightness in that. It's not interesting. M-Track-J has its own measurements as well. So if I get up the G1 tracks, so if I hit measure, I get the measurements for each, in this case for each cluster. If you're interested on a track-based level, I think you right-click it or shift-click it. No. Control-click. And you can do track measurements. You can do point measurements, but that's not very useful. And assembly measurements, again, isn't very useful because that's just they'll just tell you like something averaged about all of the tracks. So you could, if you're interested in a particular cell, you could take like cell, was it cluster 198, track 4, and there's an explanation of this in the manual for MTrackJ, which you can get to by clicking help. But it'll tell you probably the most useful things are things like the velocity, which is microns per second. There it is. You want to change that to microns per minute by timesing it by 60, or microns per hour if you want, because those are really small numbers, not very useful. It'll also tell you things like this theta is the maximum amount of degrees it turns through in the z dimension. So that tells you if it goes up or down, which is kind of handy. Yeah, and that should be sufficient to let you document what you want about the shapes and dimensions of your lumen.